Did you know that identity verification with Companies House is a new addition to UK company law this year? In this episode, we're going to look at what it is, who it affects, and what everybody needs to do. So welcome back. It's episode, 19 of Optimum Live, and it is Companies House identity verification changes. Absolutely snappy as heck, as you'd expect from Companies House and all of those authorities. Delighted to say I'm being joined by somebody who has to know all about this. Tracey Heath, Operations Director. Hi, Tracey.
Hi.
You're the scapegoat for this one, aren't you?
Yes.
And I guess it is because all of us as business owners have suddenly kind of gone, did I just receive an email asking me to do something? And you've, as you know, Optimum Professional Services, you're all over this. Is it a big change?
It is a
Really?
big change. Yes, it is.
Simple terms then, let's start with the obvious question. What is it?
So there's new rules that have been introduced by Companies House. They are basically trying to disrupt economic crime and support economic growth. So they're bringing in more and more stringent rules to try and capture those people that are maybe not following the rules. So basically they have brought this in April. This new rule.
And for a timestamp on this one, we are just into July now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But it's really only been hitting people's inboxes in the last month or so. And so what people now need to do is make changes that it's actually mandatory from autumn 2025. And we need to have everything completed by autumn 26. So it's basically all directors and PSCs, and that's persons of significant control, that are listed and linked to a company at Companies House are now going to have to go online and verify their identification.
Okay. In fairness, I mean, it sounds a fair thing to be doing if we're really trying to combat crime, underhand practices or whatever. Mm-hmm. Within organisations. And did I get the impression this even could be including like illegal immigration and things like that, as well as fraud and whatever else?
Yes,
it's quite
absolutely
broad, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well,
it is.
Myself as a company director with no guilty conscience of anything, for me it kind of goes, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So other than making sure that we do all the tasks, it's like there's nothing to be worried about it.
Absolutely. If you're all completely straight and you're doing everything right, nothing to worry about. It's just the inconvenience of it, really. And if you've not verified yourself online with Companies House by autumn 26, you will not be allowed or able to file your confirmation statements, your director changes, etc. At Companies House. So it absolutely has to happen. And obviously for a lot of people will use their accountants to file those kind of documents for them. Yeah. But still they have to have verified themselves, and that they can do that independently, or they can actually get the help of an accountant to do that. It basically gives you, once you've done it, you get an identification code. Think of a national insurance number that stays with you for life.
Right.
So you only do it once, and that stays with you for life. And then Companies House, HMRC, etc., may at various points in your lifetime ask you for that code, and that confirms that you have verified your ID online and you are who you say you are.
The scariest thing for me there is then making sure I don't lose that code anywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
It must be securely stored somewhere, yes. Chris. Yeah. Don't lose it, for goodness sake. He says with zero trust in himself there. Interesting comment that I read, and interestingly, you guys have already done a blog post on this as well. And I suspect it will appear along the bottom there, but go to the website OPTPS, as in Optimum Professional Services, optps.co.uk.
Yeah.
Why am I asking myself? It's right there. And go to the news page, I think it is, isn't it? And it'll be on there.
The blog will be there.
Yeah, read some information there. But one of the interesting things for me was that I got to help disrupt economic crime, and to support economic growth was the line. Have you got any feel of how it's supposed to help, support economic growth?
I don't know. I mean, there's still so much that they haven't actually confirmed and clarified in this. That
I'm shocked
that they're going to tell us later. But I would imagine it's more about actually trying to wheedle out those people that aren't actually following the rules and money laundering and so on and so forth. The more that we can get rid of that across the industry, the more chance those people that are operating fairly have of operating.
Yes, of
better.
course. That makes sense. That's a logical way. I would agree with that. And I guess it's given everybody accountability for what they're doing. So that makes sense. So it ends up giving assurances about who is setting up, running, owning and controlling companies in the UK.
Yeah.
This is at Companies House. Is it purely them? You mentioned HMRC, for example. Is it almost like in conjunction with each other?
It's bound to overlap at some point. They do work very closely together. Whenever we make changes at Companies House for limited companies, it links eventually back through to HMRC. So if you change a registered office, for example, that will eventually go back to HMRC. So I'm sure HMRC will be looking at ways of using those codes as well. And I'm sure this is just the beginning of a lot of changes.
And none of it seems like, Big Brother or anything like that. It seems fairly almost staggering that we didn't have it in the first place, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm even trying to think now with HMRC is that I know we've had the discussion that associated businesses, and I have, as well as this production company, I've got a public speaking training company. I do media work, and they were, in theory, they were separate entities because they were separate things, separate. They didn't want them to cross over. But suddenly that would mean that because I'm owning or a person of significant control. Suddenly things like corporate tax threshold and VAT limits and everything was spread over the two of them, two companies that I have. And it's like, I wonder whether that could help sort that out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being romantic that some things that I felt were unfair on people doing business innocently could eventually get resolved, but we'll see.
It affects all directors and PSCs, people of significant control, that are listed against a company at Companies House. So I think there are slightly different rules for anybody that live outside of the UK that are directors or PSCs. But those, again, it's a bit sketchy in terms of what they have to do. But they've been quite prescriptive in terms of what the people that are based in the UK have to do.
Okay. And maybe at some point they'll try to tidy that side up as well, but they've got less control there, haven't they?
I think so, yeah. And it's just become so unwieldy. There are so many out there, and probably a lot of those are the people more likely to be away from the radar, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what it can do is that it can help identify the weak points or the leaky holes, whatever we want to call it. Even if it's hang on, that's information we can't get. It's like, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it does pinpoint things. It's interesting. Limited companies only? Or does it involve partnerships, sole traders? Anything,
if you're incorporated. So LLPs, limited liability partnerships, will also be included. Yeah. So if you have any kind of filing to do at Companies House, then it affects you.
You mentioned that it was bought in April this year. I've got to ask an aside. Was that rushed in? It just sounds like completely out of the blue, but
honestly, I don't know. I mean, I've been reading up just this last week.
It feels like it,
and it was a surprise to me that it had been announced in April, but probably just in certain areas, but not necessarily that widely. Okay. So they're obviously now just starting to roll out the emails to directors of companies, because that's when we're starting to get the queries from our clients to say, well, we've got this email, what does it actually mean?
Hence
and can you help
episode.
us?
Yeah, hence we're doing this episode. And I guess the reality is don't panic for people that maybe haven't, because we would speak, like I haven't had it yet, but that's a lot of people they've got to try and get the information out to, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it could potentially go to our accountants instead of us as well, depending on how it's set up. Okay, so that's fine. So that was bought in April, but it's not mandatory until autumn this year.
Autumn, what does that mean?
Well, quite. I was going to ask, is there anything more specific on that?
No.
So presumably it's watch this space on that one, but there's a year before it becomes a problem that you're not.
Yes. So all of the advice that everyone would give you is obviously try and get ahead of the curve. Let's actually try and get organised now, because we have the ability to do it. A lot of the softwares where you file this kind of information through are not yet set up to take that code. But they obviously all know they have to be. So this is why they've set this kind of mandatory date, I believe, so that all of the software companies will then be set up to actually put that information in. But for now, there's nothing stopping you today going and get that code, so you know that you're well ahead, you're well organised.
And that's the point. That's made me suddenly think my accounting software, that will probably store that code somewhere, hopefully.
Yes.
He says, hoping that he doesn't lose it. I'm having those nightmares before it's even begin. I think that comes under the anxiety banner, that one, doesn't it? Goodness me. I agree. It's plenty of time to then do it. Do you know what the process involves?
Yeah, so there's a website that Companies House have provided, and so you can click on there and you can go online to verify yourself. And it's very straightforward. There are the step-by-step instructions as you go. Initially, when you go on, you have to have an account. So if you haven't already got a Companies House account, it will ask you to register. And then, which again is very straightforward. You'll just get the confirmation through to your email. Once you've set up your account, you can then go in to get this one login, which then takes you through the steps in terms of what you need to do to actually get this code. So they list out the items that you need to have in front of you are a biometric passport from any country. And that's the passport that's got the tiny little rectangular symbol on the front.
Yep.
That's the sort that you can go through the electronic gates with.
When they're working.
Yeah. And a UK photo driving licence, full or provisional. Those are the two that most people, I think, will have.
Yep.
But they also have a UK biometric residence permit, a UK biometric residence card, or a UK frontier worker permit. But as I say, I think most people would have a passport or driving license. So you go on and you actually say that you have these things in front of you. It will then ask you to scan one of those things, and it gives you a link, a QR code and so on. So that's when it might lose some people.
Yeah.
But then it actually says, yes, you're verified. Here's your code.
Okay.
And it will then send you an email. So you get the code on the screen and you get an email with the code as well.
Okay. And I can keep that email safe. I've got
yes. They say you will also need your current address and the year you moved in. And obviously, as I say, you also
home
need
or office, work.
Your home address.
My personal home address. Yep.
And then to sign in, you need that gov.uk account, which if you haven't got it, will say register here, and then it will take you through. How
do I know? I don't even know. This is really stupid, and I apologise for the stupid question. I should know as the owner of this business whether I've got a Companies House account.
Well, I think the easiest way is if you've ever filed anything on Companies House, you will have an account. If you never have, because your accountant probably does it for you, then you won't have. But actually what will happen is you go in to the link, which I think you're probably going to show on the page, and then click on that link and it will say either sign in or create an account. So obviously you could sign in and put your email address in and say you've forgotten your password, and it will say it doesn't recognise you, which will tell you that you don't have an account. Yeah. Or if you create an account and put your email address in, it'll say you've already got an account, so vice versa.
Fine. Okay.
So you've got both options on that page when you click on the link. And it's very straightforward in terms of the step-by-step instructions. It's just when it gets to that scanning bit that some people just might get a little bit confused with it.
And I presume with you saying it's a QR code, that's the point when we can use our phones to scan that.
Yeah.
And it then is linked to what we're doing with the QR code.
Exactly.
Okay. That sounds fairly straightforward. I mean, you guys are my accountants, so and you'll have done everything for me, handheld me to high heaven. So I'd imagine I will need to set up the account, but it sounds straightforward. Photo. I think I remember you and I speaking that it kind of almost says have both, but it probably only asks for a scan of one of them.
Exactly that.
I say both. Obviously, I'm talking passport, driving license, the most obvious one.
Yes. I, for example, logged on to do mine just to see what it looked like. And I said that I had my passport and my driving license with me, and it only needed me to scan the driving license.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think that's because the driving license and the passport office are now linked in some way. So they can marry that up, no trouble.
Okay, fine. So your theory, your support level is that if people suddenly start getting thrown by this, scan with phone and connect with the QR code, is if that's just a little bit confusing, speak to, I'm going to say, in my case, you guys.
Yeah.
But whoever your accountant is, the likelihood is that they'll be able to help you.
Yeah. So what we're planning to do, now we've kind of got our heads around it a little bit more, is we're going to be writing out to all of our clients to say, this will affect you. There'll be some links to this video, to the blog and so on to give more information. But basically to say, we are going to be setting up one of these kind of Calendly type links where you can book a slot in a calendar, come in, and we will sit and go through it with you.
Oh, brilliant.
Because unfortunately, because of the rules now, we can't just take a copy.
Yeah. You can't do it for us.
No, but we can do it with you.
Yes.
So we need to have verified that we are sat with you and we have the original documentation in front of us. It's not a copy. So that then it's all done properly. So it's as good as you doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So as I say, I think for those people that are going to get a bit confused by it, it could be a bit time consuming. We obviously have got offices in Swindon and Cheltenham. So if Cheltenham is the right side of the world for you, then that obviously would be better. But we can do it either or. So that's what we're going to do, but we'll be putting that out in the email with full instructions.
Fine. So no need for someone to get in proactively contact you guys right now. No. There'll be something soon with a ability to set up that meeting, or the links, which I'll have to remind myself what that link is after this, and we'll get it put along the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
I know the link I mentioned before was to your blog post. But I think it's within the blog post as well, that link, but I might be wrong.
It is,
It is,
yeah.
Perfect.
And it'll be, for those directors that have had the email, it'll be in there as well. It's all over the place.
Fine.
And as I say, those people that are very comfortable with that technology, it's very easy to go in and do it themselves, but they'll obviously just need to let us have the code, because we'll be continuing to file information for them going forward.
If I give an example again of my company, it is myself and my wife, I can't even speak now, myself and my wife that are directors, owners of the company. So she will have to do this as well.
Yes.
Fine.
Anybody that is listed at Companies House. There is also, I think, in one of the blogs that I've read, so I'm not sure if it's in ours, there's a link to say, find out whether
I did see that in yours.
Yeah, whether you are actually on Companies House. Basically, it will come up with a search page, which is Companies House standard search page. You put in your company name, it will then take you to that, and it will show you who's listed as directors, who's listed as persons of significant control. And all of those people listed that are currently active needs to have a code.
Yep. Okay. Because I don't think I have one. What's a person of significant control? Obviously, other than the obvious, as in, so what's different to them to a director? I don't know why I'm bringing this up in this episode, but I am anyway.
That's fine. So a person of significant control might not necessarily be the director. Yeah. So for most companies, you maybe have, like your situation, you have a husband and wife, 2-director company. Typically they'll be 50-50 shareholders. So they own really 50% of the company each.
Yep.
So they're joint, PSCs. So it's basically who has control.
Yep.
What you might have is you might have 5 directors in a company, but actually there's another guy over here somewhere that isn't a director, but he effectively makes all the decisions.
Right.
So he is actually, regardless of who the directors are, he's the guy that is calling all the shots. So he is the PSC, the person of significant control.
Yeah.
And the Companies House introduced that to try and highlight those people, because they obviously weren't listed anywhere before.
Oh.
So you would look at the list of directors and assume that was all of the people that were involved in that company, and not realise there was somebody else over here that was basically in charge.
I'm glad I asked then. So it was relevant in the context of this. What about a slight branch off from that, I remember going back is that I was a 10% shareholder in a company that I worked for. Would I be on that list? I wasn't a director.
No. Basically, when you actually list a person of significant control, there are different bandings. So it's 20% or more gets listed.
Fine.
So yeah, if you're over that, if you're under, you still don't get listed.
I was irrelevant. It was fine.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
On top of my head, I can't remember if it's 20 or 25%, and then it goes to 50 and then 75. So there are those bandings where it will actually show, and actually at Companies House, it will say 75% or whatever.
I got you.
So it shows who's got more control, but still that's actually in terms of shareholding and, not necessarily decision making. You've still got that extra thing that you need to click to say, do they have authority to basically appoint and dismiss directors? And that's the overall control.
Yeah.
So you might have a 75-25% shareholding situation. In fact, now I've remembered it has to be over 25%. So if you're a 25% shareholder, you don't get listed. But if you've got 26.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but still, it still could be the 25% shareholder that has the control over appointing.
Yeah.
So they would have a different line under there. So it is all listed and when you go into the officers section, there is one line for directors and one page for, PSCs.
Fine. Okay. So we can see that. And I did do that myself. Don't know, not because I need to remind myself. I knew who owned my company, but I was like going, okay, let's see what it does. And sure, it's that one that's even got where you've the set of accounts that have been put in on one tab and directors and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. We can double check that to make sure we haven't forgotten that there's someone else that's got to say, each of those people that are either directors or significant control, have to go through this process. When you do this Calendly, or however I'm supposed to say that, appointment, can that be the company with potentially more than one person within
Absolutely. That? Yep. It's just about booking that slot. So we know someone's coming in. We need to make sure we've got a room available and a laptop available so that we'll be able to actually get onto the software and help you.
Perfect. Anything I haven't asked or talked about on this?
I think directors need to be aware. Obviously, we're going to be writing to all of our clients, and 9 times out of 10, those clients of ours are directors and people of significant control. So we'll be capturing them all. On occasion, we might represent a couple of the directors, but there are people of significant control over there that we have nothing to do with.
Oh.
So we won't have any contact information for them, etc. So there's going to be some onus on the directors there in that situation, making sure that those people have got the code, because when we come to file in their confirmation statement next time, we will have to enter all of those codes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if we haven't got them, we can't file.
Wow. So every time, like, for example, myself, and mine's small compared to the example you were using there, but every time anything's filed from now on, you, as my accountants, would then be having to put mine and my wife's codes in. I'm hoping
that we put it in one time and the software holds it.
Got you. Yes.
Like we have the company authentication code.
Yep.
We need that. It's yours, but we need that to file on your behalf because that's a secret code, and that says that we're authorized to file for you.
Yep.
This is one step further. So I'm hoping that software will hold it. So in the same way the code stays with you for life, whilst we don't move software, that code will stay in there. So it's a one-time job, hopefully.
One and done, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Touch wood.
Lots.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anything else?
I think just to mention, we've listed what you actually do need to be able to go in and do that code. But if you've actually not got any of those documents, because there obviously are some people that don't drive and don't travel, there is actually a link on that screen again, where you can go to a post office, or you have to go to a post office in person, but with those same documents. So if you're not happy with online, you can do that. But also there are some occasions if you don't have the list of required ID there, you can actually potentially use Bank or Building Society information, but there's a link that you have to go through to check that that's going to be eligible for you. There's also, as I say, separate rules for those people that are not resident in the UK, and that's not clear yet in terms of what that means. So that will follow.
Okay. Well, they've certainly given themselves enough margin to when this is all to be sorted by, haven't they?
And I think earlier, whilst you said there's no need for people to panic and contact us, of course, if they want to get ahead before they get that email from us, they're more than welcome to contact us, and we'll arrange for them to come in. Also, you'll have some people out there that just panic about using a computer. So it would make sense for us to do it for them.
Okay.
So again, they just have to choose the location, whether it's Swindon or Cheltenham. And obviously, as I say, it needs to be booked so we can make sure there's going to be someone there available to do it for them.
Of course. No, absolutely. It sounds fair. It doesn't sound an unreasonable thing. If anything, I think it's to our advantage in the long run. There might be some cynicism about it, but I think it makes sense. And it doesn't sound terrifically onerous to get it done either, to be fair.
No, I just think it's just obviously just quite it's a big task for us to try and capture everybody.
Yeah.
But there will obviously be those people out there that are happy to do it themselves. Happy days. And then there's people that are just freaked out by it, so they can come see us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you happy? We've covered everything. The
one last thing I would say is, again, it's to be confirmed later, but we have had a whisper that any new directors, so basically, if you're starting a new company tomorrow, or you're joining a company as a new director tomorrow, we think they are going to be forced early to get the code.
Yeah.
Because it's coming in now, so it makes sense to do it now.
Yeah.
But we've no evidence of that yet. But it's
got to be at a point, if not yet, it's got to be pretty quick soon, isn't it? Otherwise, you're just adding to the backlog.
Yeah. But all existing directors and PSCs have until autumn 26 to be compliant.
Okay, fair enough.
But we want to do it much sooner than that.
I don't know whether to open this Pandora's box, but if people are asking the question, do they retain my personal documentation, or is it that they check it, verify it, and then that's deleted? Do you know the answer to that?
That has come up in conversation, but I think I think the answer was they've somehow set it up so that it's a tick to say we have verified this person.
Yeah.
So we don't need to hold that.
It does happen, doesn't it, now, more and more, because otherwise they're responsible for an awful lot of data. I just wanted to you could sense the nervousness of me asking that question, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But it was like some people might be watching this and be thinking that, and it's like we're pretty sure that they verify and then it's gone. They don't need to, because they don't need it after that, do they?
No.
That's the whole point.
No.
Okay.
I think even if things change, addresses and so on, I think the fact is they've verified you are who you say you are.
Exactly.
So, because there's some silly rule in there now where accountants, for example, cannot look at a passport and say that's you, and what we used to do, say, yeah, I can see that's you, it's a true likeness, I'm happy to accept that as your passport. We are now not qualified under these new rules unless we have a specific qualification to say that passport is not a fraud, not fraudulent. So obviously we don't want to get into those realms. So we said, no, we can't possibly do that.
No, absolutely.
Which is why the people have to be coming in and we have to be present. They have to be present to talk to us.
Makes complete sense. I am very conscious you've got lots of notes there. Have we, for
I'm just flicking through. And the only other thing, again, more info to come on this. But they have said at some point, these codes will need to be linked to your companies.
Yeah.
But they haven't told us how to do that yet. So they're like, in due course, we will tell you. But as accountants, once we have your codes, we'll be able to do that for you.
Yeah. No, that's all good. Okay. I think we've covered everything for now.
So,
if there are any questions that anybody comes up with, then, please get in touch. If the answers aren't immediately known, and that's through no fault of anyone, well, not even them. They're trying to sort something pretty big out. We will, the answers will be forthcoming. Do reach out now if you want to and you want to get ahead of the curve. Keep your eye out if you're waiting for your email. And then, I'm going to take the advice. I'm going to just get it done as soon as possible. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Then it's done. We've got the code. and I'll learn how to keep it safe. That's fine. That's fine. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. A nice, short, sharp episode 19, but a really important one. And I know that will actually be news for some of you, that Companies House have got these new identity verification changes coming in. Very important. Sounds to me fair. It's going to benefit me as far as I can see anyway, to get rid of the questionables, yes. Hopefully. And there we go. So, Tracey, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for your font of all knowledge. And we'll see you next time for episode 20. No idea on the content yet, so keep your eyes peeled. See you next time.